This is not my first novel, but it's the first line. If you think about your lifetime, then you might be able to see that the end and the beginning are one in kind. Let's forget what was said back in the days behind, of how what came shall return. When the pages turn and the images and icons burn, one by one they drop from your smartphone screen, and on your desktop computer wallpaper only words you will now see. There were big windows in the house. He wanted to expand and made a contract. With the powers that be, meanwhile his kids were barely hanging in there. They were asleep, and nowhere around was there a sound. Opportunities, they were null in this town, and it felt like his time on planet Earth was coming to a halt. In his skull there was a receiver now, telling him that on the path leading to his home, someone with a sombrero had made an error in judgment about the dangers on the way. Expanding his mind state, he felt like it was all fate, didn't even have the money for a milkshake. This was the dead-end life he lived. Meanwhile, on some forgotten street there was a man by the roadside, shoveling dirt in his sleep. From one hole into the next, he had been going through a lot of stress and losing sleep for months. Now his body acted on its own, doing atrocious stuff. He had been living in the life of luxury, having access to the treasury. He was measuring himself against everything and each one. Unanswered calls cluttered his phone, and then he took and drove on that desert road, alone. Alone. In his mind there sprang up a thought. Even though these days were dead ends, as a whole, if they were made into a chain, maybe just maybe, it could heal the pain, and he wouldn't have to turn back because he had been so invested, pushing grooves in the running track. And he could run fast. If he was no athlete, despite the scorching heat, his athletic abilities were coming back full force now, and his visions in the mind were like rotten teeth in the horse mouth, meaning that you had to yank them out and make everybody see. The gallerist was amazed at what he saw in his dreams. Now keep your hands stable. We could make millions if you are able to separate the fact from fiction. Between these two words there's a bit of too much friction. And it's not always about following the rules of proper punctuation and grammar. Sometimes the right nail is not made for the hammer.